Well, 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 it's that time of year again. Scottish Premiership League table predictions for the 2024-25 campaign. It starts now. And I've got a pretty decent record at this. I think I've got the champions predicted correctly 7 out of the 8 times I've done it. Not bad. That one time I got it wrong, I was memed for eternity, but we'll forget that happened and hopefully it doesn't happen this time round. Let's do it again. Let's predict how the league table will finish for the upcoming campaign. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Thank you so much because we have just hit 45,000 subscribers on the channel. Absolutely insane. So I can't thank you enough. We're halfway to the big 50k. That's where I wanted to get this year. So if you haven't, drop down below, press those buttons. There will be a giveaway soon. I did promise that when we got across the 45k mark, so keep your eyes and ears open over the next few videos to see how you can be in with a chance of entering said giveaway. And for the neutrals who are joining me, for the non-Celtic supporters who are here to hear my opinions, I'm sorry I'm going to have to put up with this for the next 10 minutes or so. But subscribe. So we all know how this works by now. We've done this year after year since I started the Ryan118 channel, and more often than not we've done pretty well. Well, we've done pretty well at predicting who will win the league. Celtic once again came out on top last season. Brendan Rodgers made it 3 in a row for Celtic. Well, we also lost Livingston, who exited the Scottish Premiership. Dundee United have come back in their place, which makes it quite an exciting lineup for the upcoming season. So we're going to try and go through start to finish as we always do, from worst to best, going from 12th to 1st and predicting who will finish where. But I think it's a really difficult season to predict. I think there's a lot of change in the Scottish Premiership. Squads are looking really different. Players have come and gone. Managers have changed as well. And generally, Scotland's always a difficult league to predict. Some teams you think are going to do really bad in certain seasons, and they end up finishing the top half. And then there's teams you might think will finish 3rd or 4th, and they might be fighting relegation. It's never a league that's easy to nail down. In fact, last year, the only teams I predicted in the correct position was Celtic and Rangers in 1st and 2nd. So you can decide if that's down to unpredictability or my terrible knowledge of the game. But we're going to try and go over things today. As always, it's one man's opinion. Don't get yourself too offended. But I don't want to yap as long as I usually do in these videos, so I'm going to try and keep it very, very brief for each team. We'll see how long that promise lasts. Let's start at the bottom, shall we? So bottom of the league this year, I'm going for Ross County. That's the side that I think will face automatic relegation. I think they got off with it last year, and this year I would be incredibly surprised if they got away with it again. Sorry to all my Highlanders who may be watching the video, everybody from Dingwall who's disappointed to hear my thoughts, but I just think that Ross County will struggle. They've made a couple of decent signings, players have come in, but I think some of the bigger players such as Yang Danda, who has left Ross County, will hurt them. And generally they weren't great last year. Fantastic result against Rangers, don't get me wrong, thank you for that. It was great in Celtic's pursuit for the title, but I don't think the luck will be on Ross County's side this year in their fight against relegation. So bottom of the league, sorry lads, I'm going for yous. Second bottom of the table for me this year is the team I predicted to face automatic relegation last season, and that's St Johnstone. So I still have them down in the relegation zone, but this year I think they could escape that automatic drop by the skin of their teeth. Of course, Craig Levein came in very late on into the season for St Johnstone, kept them up, they survived, they are in the Scottish Premiership once again, but I don't know how well off they are heading into this season. Yeah, they've made a couple of decent signings. Big Uche Ekpiezu is back in Scotland. He's signed for the side. Is he enough to keep them in the league and keep them in the league convincingly? I don't think so. Yeah, there's other players who've come in. St Johnstone are one of those sides who typically have a big turnover of players, a lot of departures, a lot of incomings as well. I just think that, you know, they play some very boring stuff. I think it's football that can only take them so far. And they'll need to fight for points in those games against, you know, your Ross Counties, your Motherwells, Dundee United, who are newly promoted. And more often than not, I don't think they'll win a lot of those points. So, yeah, I fear for St Johnstone. I know a couple of their fans have popped into the odd live stream on the channel here and there and spoke about how miserable it can be sometimes watching them. So I do feel for these. but I've got he's above Ross County, so take that as a positive. Next up, I'm going Motherwell, who I'm actually fed up of talking about year after year because they love to prove me wrong when I have them down at the bottom, and they also love to prove me wrong when I have them up near the top. Very unpredictable club year after year, Motherwell, and I'm actually quite sick of it. But this year, I fear for them. I do, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what Motherwell fans are thinking heading into this season, so if you're watching as a Well supporter, please let me know in the comments below. But from the outside, I don't look into a side who look very bright. I think there's been some big departures, of Theo Bear being the obvious one. I don't know if they've replaced well enough. Only time will tell. They've brought Andy Halliday in, and to me that's a death sentence. But I apologise to my good Motherwell supporting mates, Gogsy, Stevie Wales. I know that I feel like I'm more often cruel to Motherwell than nice, but I don't know. Kettlewell was one of the managers who, I was asked the other night in a stream, who do you think will get sacked first this season? And Kettlewell is honestly one of the guys that sprung to my mind first. I think that they need an injection of life on the park, something that was missing last year, and I don't see a significant improvement coming from the struggles of the 2023-24 campaign. I think they're better than a relegation scrap, but not by much, so I've got them in 10th place. In 9th place, it is newly promoted Dundee United, who I think are marginally better than Motherwell, who we just spoke about. Looking in from the outside when it comes to squad quality, I think they've just got a few better players, and I think that Jim Goodwin will play slightly nicer football, which could get them the odd good result here and there that lifts them up the table a little bit. Now, the last time Dundee United were in the league, I predicted them to finish third. They finished rock bottom and got relegated. So I've avoided any of that catastrophe this time. They're not getting placed third in my predictions. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Last year I thought newly promoted Dundee would struggle and ultimately maybe go back down. They finished in the top half. Once again, Scotland at the Premiership is a very unpredictable league for all these sides outside the normal top two. So interested to see how it goes. I think they could do well. But yeah, they could go down for all I know. So yeah, some good signings though. A different looking squad, a lot of departures in there. I think that they'll avoid the drop though, convincingly. And right above them, I have their neighbours from literally next door, Dundee, who I think will do better than Dundee United this season. But I think it will be closely fought out between the two over the course of the 38 games. Yes, this is a little bit of a drop from their top half finish last season. I just don't think Dundee can do it 2 years on the bounce, especially with a lot of the teams who should be doing better looking like they've improved. So I think that Hibs have made marginal improvements. I think Aberdeen should be doing much better under their new manager. I don't think Dundee will hit the same heights as they've done last season. But listen, I think the 8th place for Dundee would be still another great campaign for them. And just staying in the league ultimately is the priority for them at the minute, I would say, from an outside point of view. So I've got them above Dundee United. We'll see how that pans out. But they were entertaining last year at Dundee. They really were. Rounding out the bottom half, I've gone for Hibs in 7th place. Similar to Motherwell, fed up banging on about Hibs year after year. A club who offer hope to be a side that could challenge for that 3rd place and constantly let down their own supporters. Hibs should be doing much better than they have been in recent years. They've been severely underachieving since really the departure of Neil Lennon, I would say. But I've got them in 7th place. I don't really know what to think of the David Gray appointment on a permanent basis. I don't think that they've greatly enhanced their squad. There has been some departures. For example, Ewan Henderson is moving on. Lewis Stevenson, a long-time servant, is moving on. Paul Hanlon, who's been there for many a year, is moving on. So they've got rid of a few of the experienced players, and they're bringing in players who, honestly, I can't say I know an awful lot about. So I don't know if they greatly improve this squad or if they marginally improve this squad. Only time will tell. But nothing about Hibs' summer business screams to me that they're in for a great season. but they're one of those clubs similar to Motherwell. They love to prove me wrong at any given opportunity, so we'll see if they can crack into the top half. So kicking off the top half, I've got St Mirren, who I think can build on what they done last season with another top half finish. And I think that would be absolutely fantastic for St Mirren. The main reason I think they can do that is down to the fact that Stephen Robinson is their manager. His football might not be the prettiest at times, but it's certainly effective and it certainly gets results for St Mirren. So when they have to play ugly, they'll play ugly. And last season they started the campaign really well, tailed off a little bit as it went on. If they can start in a similar fashion this year, they'll find themselves fighting for the top half once more. It's as simple as that. So yeah, St Mirren, solid side with a solid manager. The question could be asked, will Stephen Robinson start and end this season as St Mirren manager? Because I feel like he's going to be one of those names that if a Hearts opens up, or a Hibs opens up, or an Aberdeen opens up, he could be first come for that job, first come, first serve for that job. But yeah, I think they could do top half again. I feel like they're standing in a steady place right now. So fifth, I'm going Aberdeen, who really need to get this appointment right. Aberdeen, similar to Hibs, have been underachieving for a good few years now. Aberdeen should be, I've no fear in saying this, I don't care what Hearts fans want to come and say to me, Aberdeen should be solidly the third best team in this country. I think that they've got the resources for that, and they were steadily that for a number of years, in a position where they really shouldn't have been budged. Hearts were floating in and around the league, they were in the Championship for a while. Aberdeen should never have been knocked off that perch, yet they have been, and they have been royally knocked off that perch. They need to get this appointment right. The new manager, Jimmy, I still don't even know how his name is pronounced. Is it Phelan? He's come in and he needs to get Aberdeen back up and running. He's been presented a big task. Now, Aberdeen have cut out a lot of players from their squad who were there last season. The likes of Johnny Hayes, who's retired. Connor Barron has moved on to Rangers. A few other players have moved on. Kelly Roos is the one that I was most interested to see move on, because I thought he was a big loss for Aberdeen. But they brought in a new keeper. They brought in Mitov of St Johnstone, who is solid. I think he'll do well for them. And a lot of these signings, similar to what I said about Hibs, I've not seen them before, so don't know what their squad looks like yet in terms of comparisons with Hearts. I think they can achieve top half. They should be achieving top half. It's just a question of how far up the table can they get. I'm going for fifth on the new manager's maiden voyage. Fourth place, I'm going for Kilmarnock. Yes, Kilmarnock in fourth. I don't think they can crack on and take Hearts away from third spot, but Derek McInnes does Derek McInnes things. He's a solid manager. I might not like Derek McInnes, but I can admit he's a solid manager and he knows his way around the Scottish Premiership. Came up, decent first season with Kilmarnock, built on it massively with their fifth place finish last year, fourth, but I can't remember if they finished fourth or fifth now, but he got them into Europe. And I think Kilmarnock's season does depend on that a little bit. I think if they got into Europe, I think they'd maybe struggle. I'm looking at the fact that realistically they might go out. That's not a guarantee, absolutely not. They've still got to play in this second leg. We'll see what happens with that. But he's a good manager. And the main thing for me about Kilmarnock that says they can finish in the top four is the fact that they haven't lost anybody key to that side. They are still standing strong on the squad that they had from last season. Yes, Greg Stewart's moved on, for example. I don't think that's a huge loss. They've brought in Bruce Anderson, they've brought in Robbie McCrory. Not a lot of changes, and I think sometimes that's good in Scotland, because too many times with certain teams do we see huge turnovers year upon year. And that's happened in the bottom end of the table a lot. Kilmarnock, not a huge turnover. Only a few have went out the door and only 2 have come in. So I think that they've done a great job at keeping the core of the squad together. A squad that played really well last season, got results against Celtic. Yeah, I think that they could push for third, Kilmarnock, but I'm going to go for fourth in my predictions this year. Which brings me on to third place, and I have gone Hearts. And honestly, I've not went back and watched all my season prediction videos. This might be the first time I've genuinely put Hearts into third place when they have been the third best team in the country. Usually I try and be a bit quirky and put Hibs up there, or Kilmarnock up there, or Dundee United up there, or whoever it is. This year I'm just going for Hearts. And it's more down to the fact their squad is miles better than every other team in this league, bar Celtic and Rangers. I think that's just the honest truth. It is. I don't think who's manager even matters at this point. I don't think Stephen Naismith's a great manager by any stretch of the imagination. He's a good coach. Obviously he's a good coach, but I think they could have a much better manager in place. But they don't really need to, because right now they've got a squad that is really, really good. So yeah, listen, I think they'll continue to finish third until Aberdeen and Hibs prove that they've got a squad that can compete with that. Because, as I said, right, I know I said that Naismith's not a great manager, and honestly, you need to have a good manager to finish third, right? And I know I might sound like I'm contradicting myself here, but he's not a terrible manager. He's not a manager who's going to bottle things. I just think they could do better. Oh, that's I can't really word it, but I just think they could do better. I think they'll finish third anyway. They've made a few good signings. We spoke about Jan Danda when talking about Ross County. He's come in. I think that's a good signing. They brought in James Penrice from Livingston as well, amongst a couple of other players. The squad's improved. So yeah, third place. Second, I'm not even going to bother with the suspense that I usually put into this. So call me boring all you like, but Rangers. You can't call me biased. You can't. I think that any level-headed and realistic Rangers fan can admit that Rangers aren't expected to win the league title this year. And looking from the outside, I honestly try my best, and I think that most Rangers fans who come onto my channel and comment understand that I actually do my best and a decent enough job at keeping things level-headed and fair. I call it how it is. I've always called it how it is. I've called it how it is as Rangers were fighting their way back into the league in 2016. I called it as it is when they won the league in 2020, 2021. I try my best to be a level-headed Celtic supporter when I'm on this channel at least. Rangers right now, looking from the outside, are an absolute mess. It's as simple as that. Honestly, it reminds me of those years under Warburton, under Kashinya, under that period of time when they were just an utter disgrace, and before Gerrard came in. It reminds me of that, and if not, if I'm being honest, I think it could be worse from the outside. The fact that the money isn't there to go and improve the squad to catch up with Celtic, when I think Celtic are in a bit of a vulnerable state, in all honesty. The fact that Cantwell has stirred up a mess at the club, and clearly there is unrest in the changing room. When Tavernier and Goldson are moving on, and despite me thinking they're pretty average players, them moving on, all the mess that's just gone on, the stuff with Ibrox, everything, the boardroom, the fans feeling all disjointed and everything. Rangers are just a mess, and it would take a miracle of epic proportions for them to win a league title this year. If they were to do it, fair enough. I'd hold my hands up and say, congratulations, you've won the league. I just don't see it happening. The signings don't scream out the quality that they need to catch up with Celtic. And I don't know if by now, between now and the end of the transfer window, they'll have that quality in. It's just a bit of a mess over at Ibrox. And until they sort all of that out, I don't think they can challenge Celtic for a league title. I'm not coming across in that same sort of flamboyant way that I did in 2020 when I said there's no chance of Rangers winning the league. I learnt my lesson the hard way that season. But just looking at how Rangers are being operated right now in this place that they find them in, Christ, they're not even starting their season at Ibrox. I just don't think they can do it. The Cantwell stuff is hilarious. And for people who don't support Rangers, the whole circus at the minute is hilarious. But I'd imagine as a Rangers fan, it's actually a very testing and annoying time. I've heard Rangers fans coming out and say that this is a squad right now that doesn't even look capable of finishing third. You know, people are actually questioning if they can finish second this season, and that's Rangers fans. So I'm just being honest and saying I don't think they can compete with Celtic for the league title. The pre-season performances have been well below par. They have been embarrassed by Birmingham and Manchester United's B team. It's going to be a long campaign if they don't start off in the right way. So yeah, I've got them in second place. Listen, I still expect them to give Celtic a good few games when we play them over the course of the 4 derbies. I expect the games to be close. I expect Celtic to have tough competition because Rangers need to fight. And they fought last season. Celtic didn't batter them in any of the games in the scoreline anyway. Didn't batter them. So yeah, Rangers are fighting for dignity this year and to try and keep it as close as they can. But I just think they're so wide off the mark in finishing anywhere near top of the table. Which means top of the table, I have Celtic, which, I can't really add more to the Rangers situation than I've already given in the past couple of minutes. Celtic are miles ahead of Rangers right now, and it would be an utter embarrassment if we weren't to win the league. It would be shambolic if we weren't to win the league. And you know me, I am Brendan Rodgers' biggest fan. I will defend him till the end of the world. You know, he's my number one guy, and I want him to manage this club for as long as he deems appropriate. But if he wasn't to win the league title with the state that Rangers are in right now, I could possibly be the first person to be calling for his head. So Celtic should be winning the league. I'm pretty confident they will win the league. I'm not jinxing anything, touch wood, but as long as we play our best football, if we build on what we had at the end of last season, that should be pretty achievable for Celtic this season. Last year was a drag, there's no doubt about it. Celtic were nowhere near their best. It was a relatively poor season, but we still walked out with a double, which speaks volumes about the rest of the country, really. But we walked away with a double, despite playing some of our worst football we've seen in years. But one thing is for certain is, from maybe February onwards last year, we really kicked on and took it up a level. We really got better. I think that the signs of what Brendan Rodgers wanted to do was showing, and it offered a lot of optimism for Celtic supporters. That's been built on in this summer pre-season. We have been unbelievable against the likes of Manchester City, Chelsea, DC United. We've played some really nice football, and players are looking much better, much sharper than they were at this stage of last season. So there is definitely positives at Celtic at the moment. I think that we can be pretty optimistic of starting our campaign on a high. Obviously, you don't want to jinx nothing. But listen, if we can even get a sliver of what we showed against Chelsea the other night against Kilmarnock, we should win that game at Celtic Park. We should be winning that game anyway. We should be winning all our games at Celtic Park. It's not entitlement, it's just fact. So I'm pretty confident we can do it this year. The biggest thing that's been an annoyance to the Celtic supporters is, of course, how the transfer window has went. We are now here on the 28th of July. We've only spent £1 million. We're waiting to see if Adam Ida signs. We're waiting for Paulo Bernardo to be announced. We're waiting generally for improvements in many key areas. We've only signed a couple of goalkeepers. So we need to get our arse in gear, if you pardon the French, between now and the 1st of September to really improve that squad. Celtic have every possibility of just blowing Rangers out the water this season if they go for it, if they spend the money. And that's what I hope that the club do between now and the end of the transfer window. Brendan Rodgers is clearly a man who should be backed. He's a man who should be trusted at being at the helm of this football club. So back him like he's that trusted man. I'm looking forward to watching us play football this year. I know it's difficult to implement the positives of what we've seen in pre-season against teams who are going to constantly park the bus and play the low block, but we look sharper, we look better, and I expect us to be better this year than what we were last year. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm predicting Celtic for the top of the table. I would be lying to you and myself if I said that we weren't going to finish top of the table. So, yeah. Right, I said I wouldn't yap, and I yapped. 29 minutes I've been recording. Great. Fantastic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know your league table predictions in the comments below. I want to hear all your thoughts, your opinions. Keep it nice. Play nice, everybody. Thank you. I'm not moderating childish behaviour. Like and subscribe. Thank you for 45k. I'm looking forward to the season kicking off next week. Join me all season as we talk about it. I'll see you all next time.